All right, I will now call the city council meeting to order. Will the city clerk please call roll?
Councilmember Adam,
Here.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Engler,
Here.
Councilmember Newman,
Here.
and Mayor Taylor.
Here. All right, Councilmember Newman is participating remote in tonight's meeting. Pursuant to the Brown Act requirements, I must ask, Councilmember Newman, is there anyone who is 18 years or older with you in the room?
There is not.
Thank you, sir. Tonight we have one closed session. Ms. Noonan, will you please announce tonight's closed session?
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. We do have one closed closed session, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4.
And there are no speakers on this item, so we will go into closed session now. All righty, we are back from closed session. Ms. Noonan, is there anything we need to report?
Yes, Mayor Taylor. Announcement is that the City Council unanimously authorized initiation of litigation. Information regarding the litigation will be available to the public after service of process.
Thank you. And now I will ask if you're able to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and for item 13A, the fiscal year 2025-26 Community Environmental Enhancement Grant recommendations, we will be moving that up on the agenda and heard following the consent calendar. Next, I will be moving up to, what's that thing called? What do we call that? Speaker dais. Okay, give me 1 second. There we go. All right, for our first special presentation tonight, I would like to welcome Mr. Harold Hunter Jr. and representatives from the Thousand Oaks High School Black Student Union to receive a proclamation declaring Black History Month in Thousand Oaks. All right. Black History Month commemorates Black Americans' profound and often untold contributions to our nation's story. As we present this proclamation, let it symbolize our city's commitment to honoring the legacy of Black Americans past, present, and future, and our unwavering determination to build a more just and inclusive society. I'd like to invite Mr. Hutton and the representatives of the Black Student Union to accept this proclamation, and if you would like, say a few words.
Thank you so much to the council and the city of Thousand Oaks. We greatly appreciate this honor that you bestowed upon our Black Student Union. As you can see, our Black Student Union is not just for one, it's for all, very inclusive. So we're very thankful for you to honor our club at Black History Month. And thank you so much, our president, Berkeley Morris, our associate member, Mr. Antonio Cedric. So we want to say thank you to all of you.
And then, would you guys like to come up and take a photo with City Council? Of course. All right. Can my council join me, please, in a photo? All right, now I would like to welcome Gerardo Gonzalez, Community Information Associate Director at Interface Children and Family Services, to share the work Interface has been doing in their 211 department, along with their 2025 data. Thanks for being here, Gerardo.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is Gerardo Gonzalez. I'm the 211 Community Information Associate Director with Interface Children and Family Services, and I'm glad to be here tonight to share how 211 has been supporting Thousand Oaks residents throughout this past year. For those of you who may not be familiar, 211 is a program of Interface Children and Family Services. We operate as a comprehensive information and referral service for the entire county, connecting community members with information on over 2,000 health and human service resources. In 2025, we received over 18,000 calls and texts countywide, and our website had more than 25,000 visitors. These numbers represent thousands of connections to vital services across our community. This year is special for us. In 2026, we celebrate over 20 years of providing 211 service. It's important to note that 211 is just one part of Interface's broader mission. Interface operates 30 programs across 6 departments, including domestic violence and child abuse prevention, human trafficking prevention and intervention, justice services, mental health and trauma treatment, and youth crisis and homeless services. Because we're part of this larger network, when residents call 211, we can connect them directly to other Interface programs that may meet their needs. 211 is the most comprehensive information and referral service for local residents. We help callers navigate available resources and connect them to the help that they need, whether it's housing, food programs, mental health support, or legal services. We operate around the clock every day of the year because people facing crisis need help when the crisis happens. People can reach us in 3 convenient ways. That's by dialing or calling 211, by texting their zip code to 898-211, or visiting our website at 211ventura.org. As I mentioned, we want to make it as easy as possible for residents to access help. Whether someone prefers to call, text, or browse online, we're available through all of these channels to meet people where they are. Now, so no matter how someone reaches out, they'll be connected to a trained community information navigator. Now I'd like to share some specific data on how we've served Thousand Oaks residents in 2025. We took 1,723 calls from TO residents throughout the year. Let me give you some context around this figure. A significant number of our Thousand Oaks callers reach out to us more than once. So about 60% of our callers are repeat callers. So the actual count of unique individuals is lower than the 1,723. What this really shows us is that residents trust 211 enough to come back when they need additional support. Someone might contact us initially about finding housing, then maybe call us back a few weeks later for job search help, and perhaps call us a third time if they're in need of mental health support. We collect demographic information from every caller to help us understand community needs, which is why you're seeing the total call volume rather than the count of unique individuals. Looking at the demographic of those that we served, 581 were first-time callers to 211, 116 were families with children under the age of 5, 29 callers indicated the person in need was pregnant, 118 were at risk of homelessness, and 200 were currently experiencing homelessness. These numbers give us a snapshot of the challenges facing some of our Thousand Oaks neighbors, particularly around housing stability. Behind each of these calls is a real person navigating a difficult situation. Let me share an example with you. A few months ago, we received a call from a Thousand Oaks parent whose adult son was experiencing a severe mental health crisis. He had hallucinations, and the family was at their breaking point. They'd even considered getting a restraining order against him because the situation had become so difficult. The caller was desperately looking for support, not just for his son, but for himself and his family who were struggling to cope. Our navigator provided resources for his son's mental health treatment, including both crisis intervention and ongoing counseling services. But we also recognized that this father needed support too. We connected him to family therapy and support groups where he could talk with others facing similar challenges. We understand that mental health affects the entire family, not just the individual. families are reaching out for help, and 211 is there to connect them to the comprehensive support that they need. When we look at the top categories of needs expressed by RTO callers in 2025, housing ranked number one. No surprise there, really. Tied at second was mental health and substance use services, along with legal, consumer, and public safety services, which includes services like general legal aid, law enforcement services, and assistance with certificates and forms, for example. Third was individual, family, and community support. These are services like the Area Agency on Aging, case management, and programs like holiday gifts and toys. Fourth was food and meals, and utility payment assistance was the fifth top need in 2025 for our Thousand Oaks 211 callers. What this tells us is that some Thousand Oaks residents are facing housing challenges, financial challenges, alongside significant needs for legal assistance and mental health support. Furthermore, this additional slide here shows how Thousand Oaks compares to other cities in the county for 211 services. As you can see, housing is the top need across every community. This is a countywide challenge, not unique to Thousand Oaks. What distinguishes Thousand Oaks is that mental health and substance use services rank as the second highest need, whereas in other cities, it's income support or food assistance. This tells us something important about the specific demographics and challenges some of our Thousand Oaks residents are facing. Lastly, in addition to connecting people with resources, we run several specialized programs that provide hands-on support. Our VITA program, which is actually going on right now, is our volunteer income tax assistance program where we connect residents to free tax preparation, helping them maximize their refunds and access important tax credits. Our PSPS program assists our access and functional needs with preparation for a public safety power shutoff so they can remain safe in their home. And this is done through case management services. During active PSPS events, we provide in-event assistance with lodging, food, and transportation, all at no cost. And this is in partnership with Southern California Edison. Our Ventura versus Hate program helps victims of hate incidents report what happened and get connected to the support that they need. And lastly, our ACM program, our Enhanced Care Management Team, provides comprehensive case management for eligible Medi-Cal recipients to help meet their health needs, basic needs, and this is done through coordinated wraparound support. Through these programs, we're able to provide direct assistance to residents during critical moments in their lives. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your continued support of the work that we do here in Thousand Oaks. If you or anyone that you know needs assistance, please remember that 211 is here 24/7. Thank you very much.
Gerardo, thank you for sharing with us tonight. Thank you for the resource that you provide for the community. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up, we have public comments. Will the city clerk please announce the public comments for us?
This is the time and place for public comments. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. 11 speakers have requested to speak, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
And we do have some speakers on Zoom tonight, so I will call everyone in person first, and then we'll conclude with the speakers on Zoom. Everyone is going to have 3 minutes to speak. If you hit your time, I'll just gently remind you that we got to wrap this up. First is going to be Ren Schwind, and then following Ren will be Janine Blackfield. Yep, you got it.
Hi, my name is Ren Schwind. I live in Newbury Park. I am a volunteer with 805 Undocu-Fund, and I had the unfortunate experience of witnessing a kidnapping from ICE outside the ICE facility we have here in Newbury Park, the one where they said that they don't kidnap people from. I witnessed it personally It was not a fun experience, and a poor woman was terrorized. I also stand with children in the morning waiting for the bus in certain communities here in the city of Thousand Oaks, and the parents and the children are terrified and have been traumatized. And it's not a laughing joke. It's a real thing. I see it every morning. And I'm sorry some people don't believe it, but I want you to know it's true. And it's happening right now in your city. These are innocent children and innocent families that have done nothing wrong but make the community better. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ren. And then following Janine is going to be Shannon Anderson.
TOTV, there's something to show.
Hi, I'm Janine Blakefield, Thousand Oaks resident my entire life, 52 years. That was a joke. So tonight, I'd like to give a little bit of a history lesson. You all have heard of the Holocaust and say, oh, this isn't the Holocaust, but it sure smells like it, sounds like it, rhymes with it. I'm a volunteer with 805 on DocuFund, and I'm watching people get kidnapped regularly right here in our sweet little community. So what I'd like to do, you see I have a list here of 5 items. People during the years after the Holocaust, historians reviewed the categories of people who existed during that time in Nazi Germany, and they fall into 5 categories. We have rescuers, resistors, upstanders, bystanders, and perpetrators. So the interesting thing that historians discovered was that only, sorry, I'm nervous. Only 3% of the German population were actual Nazi perpetrators who actually committed atrocities. So we look at our ICE and DHS people today, and we seem overwhelmed by the numbers of them, but they probably don't make up much of our population, just as the case was in Nazi Germany. Now, also in that time, they discovered that only a few thousand, maybe 1,000 to 2,000, of the population were rescuers or resistors. So the sad thing was they discovered 90% of the German population were bystanders who did nothing. They saw atrocities, they heard the horrible stories, and they did absolutely nothing. They did not take any action whatsoever. They just were scared, they kept their mouths shut, their heads down, and they let people be taken. They let the atrocities happen. And this is happening now, and it's unacceptable. So what I ask of you is please don't just put your head down and pretend that everything is okay. We're supposed to learn from history, right? We're supposed to be students of history. Don't ever forget it. And I have the death certificate of my great uncle Oscar from Auschwitz. And it's just a lovely little organized piece of paper that was stamped by an SS guard that everything was just normal and natural, that he died at age 62, just 10 years older than I am now. He was a beautiful, normal, healthy human being. And his life was taken from him. Don't think that things can't get worse. Things can get a lot worse. So thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Shannon Anderson. Following her will be Paul Johnson.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. It's nice to see you all. Bear with me while I get my speech up here for just a second. So since the last time we presented our numbers to you about kidnappings 3 weeks ago, we've had 3 additional kidnappings in the city of Thousand Oaks by ICE agents. One was on the 20th of last month, where someone was kidnapped on St. Charles Drive. Another was a gardener who was kidnapped on his way to work one morning. And another was the one that my fellow volunteer Ren mentioned, of a community member kidnapped from her appointment at the ICE office in Newbury Park. So this makes 2 kidnappings at the ICE office in Newbury Park since December 22nd. 2 kidnappings at the location the city was assured would have no ICE agents present or kidnapping activity nearby. But if there's one thing we've all come to learn about ICE, it's that they lie. Deception and propaganda are fundamental to how ICE operates. I do not want them to have a foothold in my city. I want them to be held accountable for lying to this council and to the city manager. I want to make it clear to them that they are not welcome in any way, shape, or form in Thousand Oaks. I would humbly request that the city council members find ways to remove this office of liars and kidnappers from our city. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Paul Johnson. I live in Moore Park. I moved to Thousand Oaks in 2002. I've basically lived in the neighborhood ever since. Thousand Oaks is part of my community, so I think I have standing before this council. To start off, I really object to labeling ICE as a Nazi enterprise. I think Jewish people would be aghast at people equating the Holocaust to ICE enforcement of legal immigration laws. Being arrested for violating immigration laws is not kidnapping. It's called law enforcement. I support ICE. Sanctuary cities are illegal. Aiding and abetting a crime is a crime. Switching to a softer note, thank you, people, for being on the city council. Thousand Oaks is a great town, and people like you keeping it a great town, I appreciate. Consistent with the founding fathers who founded this country on respect for God and invoking divine providence in the foundation of the USA. Consistent with the Pledge of Allegiance, where we say, in God we trust. And, consistent with the Pledge of Allegiance where we say, one nation under God, I think it's appropriate that we display in public places, including City Council, the words, in God we trust. I think this will promote public virtue, respect for God, and respect for country and the founding principles of the USA, which includes God. In God we trust for sure. Now, I would also like to ask consideration on another point, that during the 4th of July fireworks, we have a patriotic song sing-along. Display the lyrics and have people sing along with the Star-Spangled Banner, God Bless America, while the fireworks are going off. I think that would be very, very good and make people feel good. We like to sing patriotic songs together. Don't have somebody sing it for us. Let's participate in a sing-along. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Madison Reitson, and then following will be Michael Steele.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me? Or is it this one? Okay. My name's Madison Richardson. I'm from Newbury Park. I've been a resident of Newbury Park for 30 years. I want to begin by acknowledging the council members who have spoken up in support of our community as we face the unprecedented and inhumane actions of ICE. We see you and we appreciate your support. Since January 15th of 2025, 805 and DocuFund has reported that at least 55 Thousand Oaks residents have been kidnapped by ICE. The fear and outrage is palpable as so many feel helpless. What residents are asking for now is something different, not funding, not signage, not public policy, or not police policy, but clear city policy about how Thousand Oaks as a government operates. Because when the people hear there's nothing we can do, this is federal, it overlooks something important. You control how city staff, city property, city data, and city facilities are used. Right now, Thousand Oaks does not have a formal ordinance or policy that restricts the use of city departments, facilities, or equipment, or databases in federal immigration enforcement without a judicial warrant. limits voluntary sharing of resident information with federal immigration authorities beyond, excuse me, beyond what is legally required, provides clear procedures for how city employees respond if contacted by federal agents, establishes guidance for federal enforcement activity on city-owned or city-controlled property, requires staff training so that every department understands the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative request, ensures consistent multilingual know your rights information is visibly available at all city facilities. These are not symbolic actions. These are operational decisions about how city functions day to day. Other cities, large and small, have adopted these kind of policies. Research shows that when immigrant communities trust their local government is separate from immigration enforcement, they're more likely to report crimes, seek help, and engage with city services without fear. That improves public safety for everyone. I provided draft ordinance language for your city attorney that is fully consistent with California law and does not interfere with federal authority. It simply defines how Thousand Oaks uses its own resources. This document will be emailed to city staff for review, and I request this please be placed on a future agenda for your consideration. In conclusion, if you help us, we will help you. Thank you for your time.
And then following Michael is going to be Reverend Dr. Betty Stapleford.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for your time. I'm going to be short and sweet. First of all, as a born legal citizen of America, I support ICE and all of its actions to rid us of these illegal invaders. Sorry, had to say that. Okay, now, the bigger topic, as a few of my counterparts have mentioned earlier, is, and actually following what happened earlier with a really great thing you guys did, which was honoring the Black community's legacy, told and untold, in the founding and continuance of our country. I believe, as earlier stated, the same should be said and tribute should be paid to God in his involvement in the founding of our country, the influence of our founders, the persistence of our country, and the fact that we still stand. Faith has driven the most successful and strongest leaders in this country, and I'm just on a whim, all those in favor of In God We Trust in our public facilities, raise your hand. And I just ask you, please, to take this as a visual referendum of the voice of we the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Reverend Dr. Betty Stapleford here? Oh, there we go.
Good evening. I am Betty Stapleford, a 27-year resident of Thousand Oaks. And I'm angry tonight. Some of you may have heard me say that before in recent speeches. Yes, I know I'm a minister and I should bring comfort to hurting people, to our country, to our state, to our county, but I'm angry. Angry about the lies, the brutality, the kidnappings, the detentions, the deportation, and the murders. Some are happening right here in the city of Thousand Oaks. And I must acknowledge and proclaim my feelings, not just move on and encourage love for everyone in the hope that things will get better if we just wait long enough. I know this city council can't make a decision that will change all that. And I know some people are tired of hearing that, but guess what? I've got to say things out loud because they're happening out loud. We've heard tonight the statistics, we've heard the stories, and I'm asking for all of those within the sound of my voice tonight, including the city council members as individuals, to do something to make life more bearable for those immigrants in our city and beyond who are being persecuted by ICE and other law enforcement agencies. And I believe we must be not only angry, but gentle with ourselves and each other. We can't stay with anger forever, consumed by our rage. We must decide what we are going to do about it. And we must join with others to make a difference, to act for good. So I ask you today to focus your anger, to join with others in this work, to transform our outrage into strong words and action. Then let us hope that justice will become more and more available to our people. May it be so.
All right, next up on Zoom is going to be Danielle Blum, or Blum. I might have misstated that. Danielle, if you can hear us.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to thank the City Council for all that you have done to step up for our communities. My name is Danielle Blum. I've been a resident of Thousand Oaks with my husband for over 10 years. I appreciate the steps our leaders have taken. I appreciate that they responded to my email that I sent because I had technical difficulties speaking at the last meeting. But I only heard back from 2 city council members, and they're the same city council members that seem to be taking action. And I'm concerned. I want to support the call to action that others have mentioned, knowing that there are at least 55 people in Thousand Oaks that have been taken since January of 2025. And we know that there are other city councils that have been able to make
Danielle, it went to mute. There you go. Go ahead.
Thank you. We know that other cities such as San Diego and Santa Clara have passed policies prohibiting the use of city property for immigration enforcement. We know that this would improve public safety, and we want to make it clear ICE is not welcome here. I support the earlier calls for action. I thank our City Council for stepping up during this very challenging time.
Thank you, Danielle. Next up is going to be Tina Fragoli.
Ms. Fragoli is not on.
Okay, moving on, we will go with Sally Hibbets. I see Sally here. Sally, you're on mute. Take your time.
There it is. I was hitting the wrong button. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, good. My name is Sally Hibbets, and I have been a resident of the city of Thousand Oaks since 1972. Over the past several months, approximately 50 people in our community have been detained by the federal agency called ICE. 50 of our neighbors, 50 families disrupted, children wondering whether their parents will come home. The grief and the psychological trauma this creates does not stay contained within those households. It spreads like an evil plague through our schools, through our churches, through our social groups, into our small businesses and our neighbors. Across the country, we are seeing the human cost of this escalation. In Minneapolis, we witnessed the tragic deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy during community unrest. We saw the horrific removal of a young boy, Liam Conejo Ramos, from his home, and the continued threat of deportation hanging over him and his family. Whether in Minnesota or right here in Thousand Oaks, the message families are hearing is the same. You are not safe. And yet our community has responded with courage. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of residents have gathered in recent weeks by marching and demonstrating peacefully against these violent actions by the federal government. These are not outsiders. These are Thousand Oaks families standing up for their fellow neighbors. I want to very sincerely thank 2 members of our council, David Newman and Ty Gutierrez, who have spoken publicly in support of our immigrant community. Your words matter. Your actions matter. They bring comfort and reassurance in a time of fear. I also want to recognize the extraordinary work of 805 and DocuFund, raising awareness, providing emergency assistance, and helping families survive the nightmare with dignity. These resident volunteers are truly making a difference in our community. But to those who have remained silent, your silence speaks volumes. In moments like this, neutrality feels like indifference. Our community needs leadership that is visible, compassionate, and courageous. Tonight, I ask this council, all of you, to step up and speak out more, clearly in support of the people who are living in fear. Affirm their humanity, affirm that Thousand Oaks stands for community, safety, and compassion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally. Next up is going to be Gia Cognata.
She's not on.
She's not on. Okay. That is going to close public comments. Next, we're going to move over to consent calendar. Does anyone have any questions, or would anybody like to pull anything from consent? Mr. Newman, you're good as well?
I am. Thank you.
All right. Will somebody like to move consent calendar?
I move the consent calendar as written.
All right, we have a motion. Will clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Adam?
Yes.
Councilmember Newman?
Madam Clerk, I abstain on 9B and vote aye on the balance.
Thank you. Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Engler?
Yes.
And Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
And item 9B is approved 4-0 with Councilmember Newman abstaining. The balance of the consent calendar is approved 5-0.
Thank you. Next up is tonight's committee report. Presenting the report tonight is Community Funding Review Committee Chair Kyle Rohrbach. Mr. Rohrbach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. All right, good evening, Mayor Taylor, council members, city staff, Thousand Oaks. My name is Kyle Rohrbach, and I serve as the chair of the Community Funding Review Committee. Joining me this evening is our vice chair, Kate Marley. There's Kate. It is our pleasure to present the Community Funding Review Committee's recommendations for the city's fiscal year 2025-2026 Community Environmental Enhancement Grants, commonly referred to as the CEEG program. The CEEG program is included in the city's adopted budget and is funded through interest earned in the Solid Waste Fund. This year, $45,000 was made available to support environmental projects proposed by local nonprofit organizations and school groups. Eligible programs are required to provide a clear benefit to the community and serve a broad cross-section of Thousand Oaks residents. The application period was open from November 3rd to December 3rd. The application was available on the city's website. Public outreach included news postings on the city's website and social media channels, advertisements in the September and October editions of the City Scene e-newsletter, a press release to local media, and an article which was published in the Sustainability Division e-newsletter, which was distributed to over 10,000 subscribers. Additional outreach included sending emails to previous CEEG recipients, as well as school administrators, booster clubs within the Conejo Valley Unified School District. Staff held an application workshop for the fiscal year 25-26 Community Grant Program on February 4th, 2025, which was recorded and is available for viewing throughout the application period on the city's dedicated grant website. All right, so this gets us to this particular round. The city received 14 qualified applications. Committee members independently evaluated each application using pre-established scoring criteria outlined in the grant application. On January 14th, 2026, the CFRC met to review the combined scores and discuss the proposals. Based on the approved allocation method, all 14 applications received a funding recommendation. The CFRC unanimously recommends awarding a total of $44,973 across those 14 programs. And you can see on the screen up here, these are the 14 organizations being recommended for funding. The represented projects meet the program criteria and collectively provide meaningful environmental benefits to the community and a wide range of residents. So our recommendations are before you, and on behalf of the CFRC, we respectfully recommend that the City Council award the fiscal year 2025-2026 CEEG as presented for a total award amount of $44,973. And that concludes my presentation this evening. Community Services Analyst Sarah Males and I are both available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any question? Al Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. Hey, Kyle, thanks for doing what you're doing. Community Funding Review Committee's working really well. I noticed a number of the grants went to nonprofits that specialize in food recovery. So that's good, because I would, assuming that that's food that would normally be wasted, and now it's going to go to people that can use it. Plus, it stays out of the landfills, right? And so you don't have the methane and all that stuff. But do you know a little bit more about how that works? Do these nonprofits approach like supermarket chains, or how do they get the food?
So I will not pretend to be an expert on the
I
food
didn't mean to
recovery
put you on
program.
the spot, I know.
No, they do, and this is something I really appreciate about the funding review program, is that in order to earn points on this rubric is you do have to provide a pretty robust description of how your program works, how you intend to use the grant if awarded, and many of them do describe in detail the way that they acquire this food. From my recollection, it's from a variety of sources. Many of them partner with Food Share. Many of them are doing food recovery from local grocery stores. I was happy to see some of them are local grocery stores that we consume food from here. And I think there's a variety of other ways that they go about it, but there seem to be several different methods. But you're absolutely right that a lot of them indicated that it has a lot to do with food that would otherwise go wasted,
Right.
and it emits methane gases, things like that.
Right. Well, I appreciate that you recognize that and gave, some substantial funding to 3 or 4 organizations that specialize in that, because we do waste a lot of food in this country. And it's good to see that it's going to people that need it. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Mr. Newman, just because I can't see you, have any questions for Kyle?
None, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Kyle, thank you for sitting on this committee. Thanks for the update. Can I get a motion for somebody to move this report?
I move that report.
Thank you, sir. And will the city clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Adam?
Yes.
Councilmember Newman?
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Engler?
Yes.
And Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Next up is our department report. Presenting the update tonight is Community Development Department Kelvin Parker. Mr. Parker.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'm here to share the update on the Community Development Department work program for the past year. Tonight, I'll walk you through some of the highlights and accomplishments of 2025. We'll cover major development projects in the entitlement process, those projects that are underway, as well as activity by division, and we'll end on the rapidly evolving legislative landscape in California. Together, these efforts reflect the ongoing commitment to smart growth, efficiency, and responsiveness in service to our residents. This slide demonstrates the number of planning applications submitted for the past 5 years. As you'll note, the number of applications has been more steady over the past 3, averaging roughly 750 per year, whereas the previous years there were about 1,200. This is the result of streamlined application processes such as solar permits, electric charging stations, as well as changing some processes to just purely ministerial. You might remember recently there was an item to shift processing of film permits from CDD to the Cultural Affairs Department, which also played a role in the change in application types. Additionally, as the general plan was nearing adoption, there was a pause in submittal of new projects. Also, it is likely that the increase in construction costs and high interest rates for loans, which makes it difficult for property owners and developers to move forward, had an impact on application fluctuation. We currently have several housing projects in the review process. If approved, these pending projects in the pipeline would add roughly 750 new residential units to our supply, including 82 affordable in various categories. The first project that is part of this is the Downtown Thousand Oaks proposal, which is currently under review. This project will move forward in the process for review in the coming months. The Chiquita Lane project highlights 45 units, which is near the Toyota dealership just behind the boulevard. This particular type of housing stock is similar to what you'll find in other areas just off of TOB. The 195 Hillcrest project is located in an office complex just west of the Kaiser Building, while the Herbs Road project is near Ascension Lutheran Church. This is one of 2 projects near Ascension Lutheran Church. The other is coming up in the slide, potentially the next slide. There have been several iterations of these projects, and we're hopeful they'll get through the development process and move forward soon. Toll Brothers is processing the project on Kelly Road and Dorrit Street. You may remember this for those that have been part of the community for quite some time as the former Pacific Drive-In site. The plan development and revisions are currently underway. Staff is working on the latest iteration of that project and we'll be meeting with the developer soon to move that forward. This is the second Herbs Road project that we'll highlight tonight, which is also near Ascension Lutheran. The product type is very similar to what you'll find in that area of the city, and it fits in well. Together, these 2 projects, if moved forward as proposed, would add 13 additional affordable units to our housing stock. There are several projects that are already entitled that are pending construction, some of which some council members may remember as development agreements that came before this body over the course of the last several years. Staff has met with each of the active development agreements in the city just to gauge their interest in moving forward and get a feel for where those projects are. So we'll highlight some of those as we move forward in this presentation. The One Baxter Way project, which is the 240 units with 34 affordable, staff met with the property owner last month who expressed an interest in moving forward with the project. That project was on hiatus for many of the issues that were raised before, from construction costs to loan costs, things of that nature. So we'll be working with them as they review the project to come forward with something that fits more of their current development plan. 1651 Lynn Road, they're revisiting the design of that particular project to make it more palatable to fit the current environment in order for that to move forward as well. Of the projects that have already received their entitlement, there are some that are pending building permits to build construction. Those projects provide an additional 506 units, of which 134 are in affordable categories. It is important to note that the Chappelle Industrial Project, which is the one industrial project that we'll highlight tonight, covers roughly 750,000 square feet and would add to our jobs housing balance in town. And it'll also provide the opportunity for various industrial uses, including adding to our biotech sector. The project at 88 Long Court is still planning to move forward. There are some discussions with the property owner about the potential to add additional units to that project. As those plans develop, we'll reevaluate the project and move forward in the planning process. The process at 170 Herbs Road was reviewed by City Council on appeal some years ago. The entitlements for that project are still active, and they're currently reviewing the sort of architectural drawings to see if they still meet their current development plans in this environment. There are several other projects that City Council has seen over the years that are currently under construction. Some of those projects include the 2150 Hillcrest Drive project. They're currently in the rough grading operations and site preparation. That project would account for 333 apartment units as well as 33 in an affordable category. The 325 Hampshire Road site, many of you will recognize that as the former Kmart site. This project will provide an additional 420 units with 54 in an affordable category, as well as adding 10,000 square feet of commercial square footage. The Timber School site at 1754 Newberry Road is the furthest along in the framing stage. This project will provide over 200 units with 26 in an affordable category, as well as the adaptive reuse of the historic school site. The Cancer Center, located at 400 East Rolling Oaks Drive, has begun the clearing process and preparing the site for grading, which will be followed by grubbing and removing of root systems on site. As noted, the pending entitlement projects approved, under construction, and pending, we have a large number of projects that fold and in the fold that will continue to see development interest in our city. That's not slowing down. And to date, including those under constructions, we currently have over 2,000 units entitled, of which about 300 total are in an affordable category. To give you an idea of where these projects are located, we have a map of our city. As you can see by the cluster of development, they're primarily located along the 101 corridor. As you may recall, as part of our general plan process, we were looking to protect our single-family neighborhoods and concentrate development right along that corridor. And as we progress and the general plan begins to age, that is taking shape just as the council directed. Some other activity of note in the planning division: they serve roughly 3,200 customers at the public counter. This is down from previous years due to implementation of our online permitting hub and the submittal processes that have reduced the number of in-person visits and increased our online activity. We've approved over 500 planning applications in the last year. Planning staff is undertaking a comprehensive general plan update to the zoning code, the sign code, and also updating the zoning map. This is to gain alignment with the general plan that was adopted by council a couple of years ago. This effort will align the code with the general plan, which translate the general plan policies into actionable items. In 2025, a comprehensive audit was completed of the existing code, and public workshops were conducted to gather community feedback on those items, and working with staff to complete the draft zoning code later this year. So later this year, we're planning to bring that forward to City Council. The building division assisted almost 6,000 customers at the public counter. This number does not represent the customers assisted virtually or over the phone. We issued roughly 7,300 permits with over 18,000 inspections conducted. And this involved a total valuation of almost $600 million. The combination permit was launched in July 1st of 2025, and it includes all trades required under one single permit. This is a great transition from having separate permits for each trade. Permits peaked at roughly 9,500 in 2002 and stabilized now to roughly 7,300 a year. The plateau suggests the normalizing of the post-pandemic market, as well as a shift towards targeted projects. The volume normalization helps right-size the staffing and service levels without sacrificing speed of processing. Lower volume does not equal lower complexity. More multi-scope submissions leveraging combination permits are still moving forward as part of this process. In September of 2025, the building department began to request all submittals be made electronically. On this chart, you'll see a sharp increase in the number of submissions that were submitted through our online portal. This is bringing them closer to where planning is, who moved to primarily online submittals several years ago. Currently, roughly 86% of planning applications come in through the online portal. Right now, building is averaging about 52%, and we expect that to increase over the course of the next year. Here we show building permits issued each month of 2025. The monthly totals range from a low of over 400 to almost 900 at its peak. This variation reflects seasonal construction trends and project deadlines. The year-end drop indicates fewer projects initiated due to the holiday season. Also, construction activity slows due to weather constraints. This is typical in an annual trend, and this is on par with what we've seen in previous years. Here, we're reviewing the application submitted under the state solar app program. That was SB 379, which went into effect some time ago. This type of permit is for small residential solar panels and battery storage systems. This permit type is issued automatically if you meet the minimum criteria established in the system. Since we went live with this program, it has grown in popularity. It also shows that the traditional permitting process can be augmented in some ways to allow people to help themselves, which frees up additional staff time to work on larger projects. The bulk of permits issued in Thousand Oaks are for single-family residential projects. We had roughly 266 last year. This reflects the city's strong focus on maintaining and improving residential neighborhoods. 58 permits were issued for commercial industrial projects, and these projects play a critical role in supporting economic development, job creation, and business growth in the city. 38 multifamily residential permits were issued, contributing to housing diversity and addressing regional housing needs. One mixed-use permit was issued, signaling steps towards integrated development that combines both residential and commercial uses. The introduction of express permits shifted the focus of staff to more complicated projects and created a seamless path for customers to obtain permits instantaneously through our land management system. The express permits have saved hundreds of staff hours and decreased the number of unpermitted small projects in the city. Activity by the Code Compliance Division is depicted in this table. It demonstrates a large number of cases that were opened as well as cases that were resolved. The numbers have remained stable year to year for the most part, with the top 3 code compliance case types being building code violations, property maintenance issues such as landscaping or trash or debris, And then the third type relates to home occupation permits. None of these cases were enforced proactively. All investigations are complaint-driven and start the process. It is important to investigate all complaints that are received. Complaints are received through Mainstar, telephone, in person, or through the mail. So the second half of the year between July and December, 98% of code cases were investigated and assigned within 4 business days. So that's a monumental achievement for a staff that is small but mighty, particularly for a city that covers 55 geographic acres. Moving to the legislative update, we're continuing to experience a rapidly evolving legislative process at the state. 2024 resulted in a slew of legislative bills being passed that continues the state's strong push towards housing. The governor signed over 60 housing-related bills into law, most of which became effective July 1st of 2025. This is not intended to be an exhaustive review of the legislation that came out of the state, but to highlight a few bills that relate to us specifically here in Thousand Oaks. AB 130 and SB 131 were added to 2 budget trailer bills. AB 130 establishes a new statutory CEQA exemption for qualifying housing development projects that are no more than 20 acres in size. Qualifying projects are exempt from any environmental review and have a shorter shot clock for cities to process them. The other budget trailer bill was SB 131. It applies to those housing projects that don't fit squarely within its exemption. These are referred to near-miss projects. It creates a limited CEQA review process for those projects and applications of this particular type. SB 79 is currently not applicable to Ventura County due to a lack of qualifying transit stops. However, there's an ongoing effort and push with the 2026 legislation to expand or amend that law to broaden its eligibility, which would impact the County of Ventura and us here in Thousand Oaks. This is something that we're tracking just because it could have an impact on the type of housing and, of course, our general plan and zoning in the future going forward. AB 712, the goal is to ensure that housing and applicant developers can enforce their statutory rights effectively without facing undue risk or costs. Housing reform laws broadly defined this to include any state statute that provides right, process, protections, streamlining benefits, time limits, restrictions on public agency authority in favor of developers. Enforcement remedies for this bill are broad, but it could include attorney fees, fines against the public agencies, protections against indemnity requirements. AB 712 fundamentally shifts housing enforcement that cities choose to comply with to non-compliance carriers with mandatory consequences. So it's something that we're also tracking and paying close attention to. SB 786 provides a faster judicial enforcement, more mandatory oversight by the state and HCD, and less room for procedural delays. It clarifies the implementation process for this and other bills related to housing, which is intended to speed up the housing production process. SB 808 establishes strict deadlines for each phase of the judicial process. Local agencies must compile and certify an administrative record within 15 days of a writ being served. The court must set a hearing within 45 days of filing, and it must render a decision within 30 days after submission or 75 days after filing. So this is to speed up the court process to get to a legal remedy to prevent delays associated with legal action. So AB 1308 is a shot clock for final inspections. This law establishes that once a project is approved and under construction, the city cannot reopen discretionary review, we can't impose new conditions, and we can't delay final approval for policy reasons. Final inspections are limited strictly to code compliance. AB 253 allows for private plan check if delays in the building department exceed 30 business days for projects of 10 units or fewer. Local governments have 10 business days to review a private plan check, and the applicant must indemnify the city if they go this route. AB 920, the city currently uses Tyler Intergov for online permitting. This system can meet the requirements of AB 920. For housing development projects, they can be submitted fully online and tracked through the portal, so we're compliant with this bill. However, to ensure that we will conduct a gap analysis to ensure that there are no loopholes that would make us subject to this particular legislation. Staff is recommending that council receive this particular update. In addition to myself, we have a full range of staff from Mina Leba, our legislative analyst. We have both of our planning managers here, our building official, Noel Duran from the city attorney's office, as well as Fabiola, our deputy director of community development, should council have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. A lot in there. Any questions from council? Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have 3 quick questions, but before I begin, I want to thank staff and my colleagues on council for facilitating my ability to participate in tonight's meeting remotely. I'm at home recovering from injuries I sustained in an accident. Hope to rejoin as soon as I can, but it's good to be with you virtually. Mr. Parker, thanks very much for your report tonight. I wanted to underscore, I think I heard correctly, you made the point that currently the city has, is it 2,000 units that are entitled, and of that, about 300 are in the affordable category? Do I have those numbers right?
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent, thank you. And you also touched on regional needs assessments. Is it also the case that there will be an additional CDD report coming up in a few weeks that speaks to that, speaks to where we're at with our RHNA numbers, and also the number of building permits that have been issued?
That is correct. That's slated to be our annual update related to our housing stock as well as our general plan status. Currently planned to happen sometime next month in March.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. Thanks. And then the final question is on a specific project. One of the ones you mentioned is the Tio Ranch project at the former Kmart site. You mentioned it will be 420 units in all. Part of it is mixed use. My understanding at the time the project was entitled was that construction would proceed in 2 phases, with phase 1 being townhouses toward the rear of the property. And once that was complete, then 2 large apartment buildings along Hampshire Road with commercial uses on the ground floor. So my question is that still the plan, the order of construction?
So with this particular project, it's the 2 large apartment buildings in the front and then townhome-style apartments towards the rear. There are 2 phases to the project. The phases for construction were reversed, which is the mixed-use portion of the project is currently under construction now, which will be followed by the townhome project once that's off the ground. So the construction phase for this particular project is slated to take a couple of years just because of the complexity and size of the project.
Sure, but now with the reversal, you're saying the apartments with the mixed use, which at the time, and correct me if this is wrong too, at the time the anticipated uses for the commercial portion were a restaurant in one and something like a convenience store in the other. So that piece would go in first, and then the townhomes would follow. Is that it?
That's correct, Councilman. The 2 buildings up front along Hampshire Road, those would be constructed first, followed by what are referred to as townhome-style apartments. So the entire project is an apartment project, but the back buildings are townhome-style. I mean, they have lofts and those types of amenities, but that will be on the heels of the first 2, we call them Building A and B up front, and then that will happen after.
And do we know if the property owner is still looking at the anticipated uses for the commercial space, a restaurant and possible convenience store for the mixed use part of that?
That is our understanding, and our dialogue with them is that they're looking for a restaurant use as well as that convenience market.
Excellent. Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Engler, did I see that you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am a little curious, maybe getting a head start on our next meeting with you. In terms of SB 9 lot splits and that sort of thing, how have we been approaching that, and have we had much activity in that area?
The SB 9 projects, we've only had a handful of those. They're difficult to make work because of the existing homes on the properties and trying to get a configuration that meets our objective standards for SB 9 lots. So we don't see too much activity with those types of requests, but we do have a few.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's good to see some of the projects that have been in the pipeline for quite some time finally starting to come to fruition, namely the Kmart project and the Timber School project and the piece over there at Amgen. Managed to preserve the historic site at Timber School and managed to reactivate a old Kmart site and bring in 100 plus affordable units at the same time. So it wasn't long ago that interest rates were peaking 9–10%. It wasn't long ago that material costs were through the roof. So are you starting to sense a change now when it comes to development and the financial environment that induces projects?
Yes, that is correct. So the environment for developers are changing favorably for moving forward. So they're reevaluating their performance and adjusting their projects to meet current conditions in order to move forward. And as a result of that, I think we're seeing increased activities with projects moving towards permits.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We need housing, and I think a lot of these projects had stalled through no fault of the city. It's just the economic environment made it a little more difficult. I think when it came to financing projects, we were maybe 8–9% at one time, and now we're maybe more down to around 5 or 6. Does that sound about right?
That sounds roughly right.
Yeah. So that's substantial, and I wouldn't be surprised to see rates come down a little further with the new Federal Reserve chairman that's due to come on in February, so that could further encourage housing and some of the things we need here in the city. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and thanks for the report. Thanks for staying on it. These are important developments.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor oh, excuse me. Habit. Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I am really impressed every time we do this, and I've only done it a few times as being in my second year, but I wanted to just call out a change that was recently made, and I had move my phones. Yes, got it. Thank you, Laura. It was me. And I happened to be on CLU's campus today, and they were filming. And while I know this left your department, I think that just also reflects the good just work between even departments and understanding what belongs where to really afford those opportunities to our city. So that was really cool to see, kind of almost in full swing. They were kind of doing a lot of prep, so no actors just yet. But I wanted to make that comment. And then secondarily, the online submittals, just really elevating the ease, right? And because sometimes we can experience with the implementation of a new system that it's clunkier than just handing over an application or something. And so I'm really excited and encouraged to see those numbers growing over time and even competing now with the other departments. So that was really great to see. And then last comment, and then I'll finally ask a question, is the zoning map update. I know we were having a lot of community conversations around that, or maybe we'll do another round, or I'm not sure, but what were some of the themes, I guess, from community members? I imagine there are property owners in attendance, developers, and then just neighbors as well.
Is this in regards to the workshop from the code audit?
Yeah. And that's in support, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I just want to make sure I'm tracking here appropriately. That's to support the zoning, like kind of, we're going from like a generalized blanket general plan, and then the zoning is going to dial us in a little bit more, and then that's how the code also supports those changes?
Correct. I think you're spot on.
Okay.
So the community workshops feed into the zoning code update that's currently being drafted, which is part of the process from City Council adopting the general plan and providing general direction to staff. We took that code audit to identify where our existing codes needed to be more robust or altered, and the community commented on that, which also fed into the process. Much of what we heard related to signs and the type of amenities that they would want to see in various housing types. So it ran the full gamut of the zoning code, which is helpful to staff as we begin to craft language, which will be available later this year for public review and comment.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing some of those themes. And then lastly, I'd love for someone to point out the Pacific Drive-In area. I just didn't know we had a drive-in, so that's news to me. But a fun piece of history. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it's right behind Kohl's. Go ahead, Mr. Engler.
Yeah, I believe you're not old enough to have known about that drive-in.
You went to the drive-in, Bob?
No. I can't say that.
You can. I did. There was a drive-in there. Yeah. I came here in '77. It was running.
It was there in the 70s.
It was great. Anyway, just wanted to attest to the fact that it really did exist.
Thank you for the trip down memory lane, council member. Along with my colleague, Ms. Gutierrez, I wanted to compliment staff on the implementation of the online aspects of what we're doing now. I know for my own personal use, I did do a large remodel this year. I was one of the people who had to go to the counter to get things going. But once I got things going, everything else was done online. It was very seamless. So thank you for that. I trust that is also being seen in our larger projects, that there's more and more things being done online.
Yes, that is correct. So with the ability to submit online, it actually streamlines the process a little bit more for our development community, which allows staff more time to accurately review their plans and provide them with appropriate comments.
As my other colleague pointed out, time is money, so if we can save a little bit of money and streamline the process, it helps all around. My impression of our Amgen project, the redo of one of their research facilities, has really gone quickly. Can you go a little bit into how maybe your systems have had a positive effect on that?
So what it does is it lays out clearly what the submittal requirements are, and the developers are able to figure out where they meet those upon submittal. Staff is able to assign those projects often within the same day or the next day and check that submittal against our requirements, which allows us to provide immediate feedback to an applicant on where their submittals may be deficient. Just in terms of preparing to meet with the developer, the faster we get the projects assigned and begin to assess the submittal, it allows us to meet with them and provide feedback on their overall project. And I think Amgen, amongst other developers, have benefited from that process.
And projects that are compliant with our general plan, notwithstanding the zoning that we're going to be doing as well, but the projects that are compliant with our current general plan, do they go more quickly than, say, someone who wants to do something outside that general plan guidance?
Absolutely. So projects that are proposed in compliance with our zoning regulations and general plan are often able to move quickly through the planning process and get into the building plan check process faster, as opposed to those that do not comply, which will require a legislative action, or in some instances, a review by the Planning Commission to evaluate the use at a particular location.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for the presentation as well. Lot to cover. Just a few things I want to highlight real quick. The express permits that saved hundreds of hours for staff. That's awesome. 2, for the applications that are now submitted online, do we have any metric of how much time was saved by moving over to a digital platform for the user?
I don't have that metric tonight, but that's something that we can put together for sure, and we can report back.
I'm going to expect that it's saved a lot of time, though, correct?
It's a significant amount of time, correct.
Great. Just curious on this one, the increase of investigations for code compliance from 2020 to now, is that just a function of the COVID era and then things getting turned back on and now we're seeing it normalize? Is that why there was an increase?
That is correct.
Okay, and then last, it's interesting because Al touched on it with the environment of the real estate market. For the projects that are now entitled, are you seeing progression out of entitlement and into their working drawing phases and moving towards having permits ready to issue? Is there still a chunk of applicants that are just waiting for better times? Or what's kind of the census there?
Those projects are beginning to move forward now. I think market conditions have corrected to make it more feasible. So in order to meet market conditions from approval to where developers are right now, they're evaluating their plans, and some value engineering is taking place, but that makes the project more viable in order to move forward. So we're definitely seeing more projects move towards that construction drawing phase, review, and plan check.
Okay, so using the Kmart site or the project by me, where the old ad school was, Timber School.
Mm-hmm.
So those ones, having gone through their entitlements and permits, I think before the rate hike, we're seeing that now built out. Some of the projects like maybe Baxter Way
Mm-hmm.
that went through their entitlements while we were already in a difficult market, they're now out of the ground, correct?
Baxter Way is not out of the ground just yet. They're evaluating the approval that they have right now, and they're talking to staff about potentially making some project changes so they can move to that construction phase. It's something that they're eager to do, but they're having all the right conversations right now internally and with staff in order to get that project off the ground.
And I'll just add to that, because we just met with one of the principals relating to that project. it's good for the council and for the community to understand the complexity of some of these things. The Baxter Way entitlement, that was sort of a COVID era entitlement that came through. The office complex that's adjacent to there was largely unoccupied during that period of time. It's now occupied north of 90% occupancy in the office, yet they still have a lot of parking. And so part of the condition on that entitlement, you might recall, was a very large parking structure, very, very expensive parking structure, which has proved to be really the hang up for them as they continue to look at balancing and advancing that. So they're looking at some project shifts, doing a parking study that's now relevant for a fully occupied office use that's adjacent to that. So every site has a story, is what we like to say, and looking at those complexities individually and trying to work with the property owners to figure out a path forward.
All right, to sort of button it up, you're seeing progression, or you're seeing progress on some of these projects moving forward. It's not that the market has made it easier to develop, but a lot of developers have come to reality that this isn't maybe for a moment. This is kind of the new norms, and they're re-underwriting and then moving forward. So you're happy with the progression you're seeing?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff? All right, any comments, or would anybody like to move?
This is a receive and file. Do we need a motion to receive and file?
That's what I need.
Then I would move to receive and file.
Any comments other than that? All right. Well, clerk, please call the vote.
And just to clarify, this also includes finding that this is not CEQA, or this is exempt from CEQA.
Yes, with all staff recommendations.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Adam?
Yes.
Councilmember Newman?
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Engler?
Yes.
And Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
All right, next up is the council members' report. On recent meetings they attended, Councilmember Engler and Councilmember Newman. What do you have for us?
Be happy to start it off. Councilmember Newman, you can jump in anytime you feel like. Both Councilmember Newman and I, plus our legislative analyst, Mina Leyba, spent a few days up in Sacramento with our California League of Cities group. Both Councilmember Newman and I are on committees along with Ms. Leyba. We started off our meetings with the bad news. The state of California, under the good evaluation, is this $3 billion in the red. Under the probably more realistic evaluation is in the mid to high teens in the red in billions. So it's going to be a tight year. Funding is going to be interesting. I happen to serve on the Public Works, Communications, and Transportation Committee. That committee discussed several things, one being that the roads that we get money for, the SB1 money, we are in third position for that money. In other words, if the funding if for the first two is fully funded, then we get some of what's remaining. So it's a trickle down. It's not the best position for us to be in, but we'll see how things go. It's early in the process. There's a lot of new bills out, as you've heard earlier today, a lot of new bills out. Early in the process, we're taking a look at a lot of these, and some of them will be consolidated, some of them will be withdrawn. So it's too early really to get too upset right now about some of them. But a couple of the other things that we had in our committee, we talked heavily about e-bikes. That has been a topic of conversation amongst the community, the use of e-bikes, especially in the school settings. Currently, we're somewhat hampered by the lack of legislation on a relatively new product. So if the state would like to do something to help us there, I'd appreciate it. And then the other item that we talked about in our committee was the a cost or a tax neutral approach to how we're going to collect a dwindling gas tax. In other words, as more and more people drive higher economy vehicles and electric vehicles, the gas tax, which pays for our roads, has been dwindling over the years. So the state for the last, 8 years now, has been looking at ways to shift that income stream to a more realistic, modern look at how we actually drive now. It's supposed to be revenue neutral. It remains to be seen, but I think that's something that probably is we need to do. We just have to make sure it's cost neutral. David, did you want to go over your side of it, or you want me to continue?
Just to add a couple of points, I agree fully with everything you said. On the Cal Cities wide, when part of that budget presentation and anticipated shortfalls of take your pick for the number of billions of dollars we're in the red, there were two areas of particular concern. One, from a Cal City standpoint, that local communities will see reductions or outright cuts in funding for housing. And that's certainly a concern locally here. And then as well, we in this city are not in this business, but the county certainly is, and other nearby communities are, and that has to do with healthcare. There were concerns voiced about cuts at the federal level affecting the state budget, and that would flow through to the local level. Bob, you mentioned your local policy committee. The policy committee that I serve on is environmental quality. We have another number of initiatives pending. Part of this was a goal-setting meeting. One point to take home that perhaps goes beyond strictly environmental concerns is how many environmental concerns are also resiliency, public works, public safety concerns. That as we have more extreme heat or extreme weather events, there is an increased risk of wildfires, increased need to respond to that. And that's something that EQ is looking at, putting an eye toward with the bills before it.
I just want to reemphasize, we are early in the process, and these bills will be coming up for voting later this year. And with the expert help of Ms. Leyva and keeping our eye on it across the city, we are making our voice heard to make sure that we get the best deal we can.
Thank you, guys. Would anyone like to make a comment or a motion for this item? All right, with the motion, will City Clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Adam?
Yes?
Councilmember Newman?
Aye.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Engler?
Yes.
And Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
And that motion passes 5-0.
Next is City Manager announcements. Mr. Powers, do you have any announcements?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Taylor. Our next meeting will be on the 24th in 2 weeks. A special presentation from President of Moorpark College. 3 public hearings for the evening. We have one to update our municipal code, one to deal with an electrification project at the Municipal Services Center, and a third one relating to a power backup at Lang Ranch Pump Station. Those are 3 public hearings for that evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Powers. Tonight,
Before we go to our adjournment, I just want to announce that our own mayor happily welcomed a new baby to the family, so congratulations for our mayor.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we evened the score out a little bit. I know, 3 girls and 2 boys, so yeah, we named him Damian Charles Taylor. Yeah, blessing. Yeah, thank you. All right, tonight we adjourn in memory of Richard Dick Dewey Hoos, a distinguished community leader and founding father of our city, who passed on January 22nd at the age of 97. In 1962, the Hoos family moved to Waverly Heights, one of the city's earliest housing developments, just as Thousand Oaks was beginning to flourish. Then their 4-bedroom, half-acre home cost $27,000. Man, Gen Z is kicking at that number, huh? Dick's time in elected office left a legacy of dedication to our community's growth and future. He was elected to the Thousand Oaks City Council in 1966 and served as our 4th mayor in 1970. His public service began as chairman of a neighborhood group advocating for the development of a sewer system in Waverly. During his council tenure, a period of rapid city expansion, Dick helped achieve significant milestones: the original master plan, establishment of city planning and public works departments, wow, a public service contract with Ventura County, introduction of bus service, development of Los Robles Hospital, and plans for our first city hall. Now you see why he was one of the founding fathers. A civil engineer by trade, Dick worked in the aerospace defense industry for over 5 decades. Dick was an Eagle Scout, an Army veteran, founded our first local Toastmasters Club in 1963, served on the boards of Many Mansion and the Conejo Valley Genealogy Society, and was a valued member of the Ventura County Grand Jury. Dick was married to Doris for 56 years, who passed away in 2010. Doris served as an usher at the Civic Arts Plaza and was a member of Volunteers in Policing. Their combined vision and unwavering commitment to Thousand Oaks will be profoundly missed. Our thoughts are with their 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and 16 great-grandchildren. We are now adjourned to our next regular meeting on February 24th, 2026.
Mr. Mayor, may I introduce, we are privileged to have Linda Johnson up here,
Linda.
who is Dick's daughter.
Oh. Thank you for being with us tonight, and I have something for you right when this ends. All right, we will see you guys all February 24th, 2026.